I woke to the creak of my bedroom door, heart pounding like a drum in the dead of night. The air was thick with the scent of rain, and lightning flashed through my window, illuminating a figure in the doorway. My best friend Caleb stood there, his silhouette trembling, and what he did next changed everything. It was 2018, in the small town of Willow Creek, Tennessee, where the world seemed to move slower, but secrets burned hotter than a summer sun. I was Jamie Carter, 19, a lanky kid with dreams bigger than the cornfields that stretched beyond our sleepy town. I worked at the local diner, slinging burgers and saving every penny for a one-way ticket to New York City, where I could finally be myself, openly, unapologetically gay. But in Willow Creek, that truth was a caged bird, locked tight behind my ribs. Because here, being different could cost you everything. Caleb Mitchell, my best friend since we were 6, was the opposite of me in every way. Broad-shouldered, with a crooked grin that could charm anyone, he was the golden boy of Willow Creek High, quarterback, prom king, the kind of guy who could do no wrong. We'd grown up fishing in the creek, sneaking beers behind his dad's barn, and sharing dreams under starlit skies. But lately, something had shifted. His jokes were quieter, his glances lingered longer, and I caught him watching me with an intensity that made my stomach twist. That night, the storm was relentless, rattling the windows of my family's old farmhouse. I'd fallen asleep to the drone of thunder, my journal, filled with unsent letters to my future self, confessions of my love for Caleb, tucked under my pillow. I never heard the door open, but when I woke, there he was, soaked to the bone, his blue eyes wild with something I couldn't name. "Jamie," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I can't do this anymore." I sat up, my heart racing. "Caleb, what's wrong? Why are you here?" He stepped closer, the floorboards groaning under his boots. His hands were shaking, and in the dim light, I saw tears streaking his face. "I read it," he said, his voice barely audible over the storm. "Your journal. I wasn't supposed to, but I saw it on your desk last week, and I couldn't stop myself." My world tilted. My journal, my raw, unfiltered truth, was my sanctuary. The words I'd written about him, about loving him in silence, were never meant for anyone's eyes. Heat flooded my face, followed by a cold dread. "You had no right," I snapped, but my voice cracked, betraying my fear. "I know," he said, stepping closer. "I know, and I'm sorry, but Jamie, I feel it too." He stopped, his breath hitching. I've felt it for years. The room spun. I couldn't process his words, couldn't reconcile the Caleb I knew. Straight, confident, untouchable, with the boy standing before me, unraveling. "What are you saying?" I whispered. He sank to his knees beside my bed, his hands gripping the edge of my mattress. "I'm saying I'm scared. I'm saying I've been lying to everyone. My dad, my teammates, myself. But I can't lie to you anymore. I love you, Jamie. Not like a friend. Like this." He reached out, his fingers brushing mine, and the world stopped. I froze, my heart a wildfire in my chest. This was everything I'd dreamed of, everything I'd written in those secret pages, but it felt too big, too dangerous. Willow Creek wasn't a place for boys like us to love each other. I pulled my hand away, my voice shaking. "Caleb, you don't know what you're saying. If anyone finds out." "I don't care," he said fiercely, his eyes locking onto mine. "I'm tired of hiding. Aren't you?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to grab him, pull him close, and let the storm drown out the world. But fear was a chain around my heart. "You don't get it," I said, my voice low. "Your dad's the pastor. My mom's already struggling to keep this farm. If people find out, they'll destroy us." Caleb's face crumpled, but he didn't back down. "Then we'll leave. Together. We'll go to New York, like you always talk about. We'll be free." I laughed, a bitter sound. "Free? With what money? With what plan? You think we can just run away, and everything will be fine?" "I don't know," he shouted, standing now, his voice raw. But I know I can't keep pretending I don't love you. I can't keep pretending I'm someone I'm not. The storm roared outside, mirroring the chaos in my heart. I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me. Was this real, or was it a moment of weakness he'd regret by morning? I stood, pacing the small room, my bare feet cold against the wood. Caleb, you're not thinking straight. You're the town hero. You've got a scholarship, a future. You can't throw that away for this. For you, he corrected, stepping into my path. I'd throw it all away for you. His words hit like a punch, stealing my breath. I stared at him, his wet hair plastered to his forehead, his eyes burning with a truth I'd never dared hope for. But before I could respond, headlights swept through the window. My mom's truck. She was home early from her night shift at the hospital. Hide, I hissed, panic surging. Caleb ducked into my closet just as the front door slammed downstairs. My heart pounded as I heard Mom's footsteps, her voice calling my name. I scrambled back into bed, pulling the quilt over me, praying she wouldn't notice the wet footprints on the floor. Jamie, she called, her voice tired but sharp. You awake? Yeah, Mom. I yelled back, my voice unsteady. Just can't sleep with the storm. She didn't come upstairs, thank God, but I lay there, staring at the ceiling, Caleb's words echoing in my head. He loved me. He loved me. But in Willow Creek, love like ours was a spark in a powder keg, and I didn't know if we'd survive the explosion. The next morning, the storm had passed, but the air in Willow Creek felt heavier than ever. I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Mom humming in the kitchen, oblivious to the secret hiding in my closet. Caleb had slipped out before dawn, leaving only a whispered promise. We'll figure this out, Jamie. Together. I couldn't eat breakfast. My stomach churned with a mix of hope and terror. Caleb's confession had cracked open something inside me. But Willow Creek was a pressure cooker, and I knew the town would turn on us if word got out. By noon, I was at the diner, wiping down counters, my mind replaying last night's scene like a broken record. Caleb loved me. But could we really escape? Could we build a life somewhere else? Or was this just a reckless dream? Caleb showed up at the diner during my break, his football jacket slung over one shoulder, his grin forced. Hey, he said, sliding into a booth. You okay? I glanced around, making sure no one was listening. The diner was quiet, just old Mr. Thompson nursing his coffee in the corner. Am I okay? I whispered, leaning across the counter. You broke into my room, read my journal, and dropped a bomb on my life. No, I'm not okay. His smile faded. I meant it, Jamie. Every word. I wanted to believe him, but fear was a loud voice. What if someone saw you last night? What if your dad finds out? He preaches fire and brimstone every Sunday. You think he'll just accept this? Caleb's jaw tightened. His dad, Pastor Mitchell, was a towering figure in Willow Creek, his sermons drawing half the town each week. Caleb had spent his life under that shadow, playing the perfect son. I'll handle him, he said, but his voice wavered. I just need you to trust me. Before I could respond, the bell above the door jingled, and Sarah Bennett walked in. Sarah was Caleb's girlfriend, cheerleader, homecoming queen, the girl everyone expected him to marry someday. She was all smiles, her blonde hair bouncing as she slid into the booth beside him. Hey, boys, she chirped, oblivious to the tension. What's with the serious faces? Caleb stiffened, and I busied myself wiping the counter, my heart sinking. Sarah was sweet, but she was also a reminder of the life Caleb was supposed to have. The life he was risking by choosing me. Just talking about the game. Caleb lied smoothly, but his eyes flickered to me, a silent apology. Sarah chattered about the upcoming homecoming dance, and I excused myself to the back, my chest tight. In the break room, I leaned against the wall, trying to breathe. Caleb wasn't free to love me, not here. He had a girlfriend, a family, a future. What was I? A secret scribbled in a journal, a dream that could ruin us both. That night, I met Caleb by the creek, our old spot where the willows hung low and the world felt a little less cruel. The air was crisp, the stars sharp against the sky. He was already there, tossing pebbles into the water, his shoulders hunched. "Sarah knows something's up," he said without looking at me. "She asked why I've been acting weird." "What did you tell her?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Nothing," he said. "But I'm gonna have to. I can't keep lying to her." I sat beside him, the grass cold under my jeans. "You break up with her, and people will talk. They'll figure it out, Caleb. This town doesn't let secrets stay buried." He turned to me, his eyes fierce. "Then let them talk. I'm done hiding who I am. I want to be with you, Jamie. Not just in secret. For real." His words were a lifeline, but they terrified me. I thought of my mom, who'd already lost so much, my dad to cancer, the farm to debt. If I came out, if we did this, I'd be risking her too. "I want that," I admitted, my voice shaking. "But I'm scared. I don't know if I'm strong enough for this." Caleb reached for my hand, his fingers warm against mine. "You are. You've always been the brave one, Jamie. Writing your truth in that journal, dreaming of New York. You're stronger than you know." I wanted to kiss him then, under the stars, with the creek whispering our secrets. But headlights flashed in the distance, and we pulled apart, instinct kicking in. It was just a passing car, but it was a reminder we weren't safe here. Not yet. The next day, rumors started swirling. Someone had seen Caleb sneaking out of my house at dawn. By lunchtime, the whispers had reached the diner, and I overheard two regulars muttering about that Carter boy and Pastor Mitchell's son. My hands shook as I poured their coffee, and I knew we were running out of time. The rumors spread like wildfire, licking at the edges of our lives. By the end of the week, Willow Creek was buzzing with speculation. Caleb and I barely spoke at school, afraid our glances would fuel the gossip. But every night, we met by the creek, stealing moments that felt like borrowed time. His hand in mine, his breath against my cheek. It was everything, but it came with a cost. Friday night, Caleb broke up with Sarah. He told me it happened in her car, parked outside her house. She'd cried, begged for answers. But he only told her he wasn't the person she thought he was. By Saturday morning, the town was ablaze with new rumors. Caleb Mitchell was troubled, confused, maybe even sinful. Pastor Mitchell's sermon that Sunday was about temptation, his voice booming through the church, and I sat in the back pew, my stomach churning, knowing he was talking about us. I avoided Caleb all weekend, my phone buzzing with his texts. "Jamie, talk to me. Please." But I couldn't. The weight of the town's judgment was crushing me, and I was terrified of what came next. Monday morning, I found a note slipped under my bedroom door, in Caleb's messy handwriting. "Meet me at the barn tonight. 10 p.m. We need to decide." The barn was his dad's, a looming structure behind their house, filled with hay bales and rusted tools. I got there early, the air thick with the scent of straw and motor oil. Caleb was already waiting, his face pale under the dim bulb. "They know," he said, his voice low. "My dad confronted me this morning. Someone saw us by the creek." My heart stopped. "What did you say?" "I didn't deny it," he said, his eyes steady. "I told him I love you." I staggered back, my knees weak. "Caleb, are you insane? He's gonna kill you." "He didn't," he said, but his voice was hollow. "He just looked at me like I was a stranger. Told me to pray for forgiveness. But I'm not sorry, Jamie. I'm not." I wanted to scream, to shake him, to make him see how dangerous this was. But he stepped closer, his hands cupping my face, and for the first time, he kissed me. It was desperate, hungry, like he was pouring his whole soul into it. I kissed him back, my hands fisting in his shirt, the world fading away until it was just us, just this. But the barn door creaked, and we sprang apart. It was Sarah, her eyes wide with shock, tears streaming down her face. "I knew it," she whispered. "I followed you, Caleb. I had to know." "Sarah, please," Caleb started, but she cut him off. "Don't," she said, her voice shaking. "You lied to me. Both of you." She turned to me, her gaze cutting. I thought you were my friend, Jamie. I'm sorry, I said, my voice breaking. I never meant to hurt you. She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. You think this is just about me? The whole town's talking. My mom heard it at the grocery store. You think you can keep this quiet now? She stormed out, and Caleb sank onto a hay bale, his head in his hands. What do we do? He whispered. I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that our secret was out, and Willow Creek was about to become a battlefield. That night, I went home and told Mom everything. I expected her to cry, to yell, but she just pulled me into a hug, her hands trembling. I love you, Jamie, she said. But this town, it's not kind to people like us. You need to be careful. Her words haunted me as I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Caleb and I had dreamed of New York, but now it felt like our only chance at survival. The next day, I found him at school, his face bruised. My dad, he said quietly. He didn't take it well. Rage flared in my chest, but Caleb just shook his head. I'm okay, but we need to leave. Soon. We started planning in secret, pooling our savings, my diner tips, his part-time job at the hardware store. We had enough for bus tickets to New York and maybe a month's rent in a cheap apartment. It wasn't much, but it was a start. But as we planned, the town closed in around us. Graffiti appeared on my locker, freak. Anonymous notes were slipped into Caleb's bag, quoting Bible verses about sin. And then, one night, someone threw a brick through our living room window, with a note tied to it. Leave. The brick was the breaking point. Mom called the sheriff, but his half-hearted investigation led nowhere. Willow Creek had made its stance clear. We weren't welcome. Caleb and I met at the creek that night, our bags packed, our plans set. We'd leave in 2 days, catch the midnight bus to Nashville, then transfer to New York. But the fear in my gut wouldn't settle. This wasn't just about leaving, it was about surviving. Caleb's bruise had darkened, a purple shadow across his cheek. He tried to joke about it, but his eyes were haunted. Dad's been praying over me nonstop, he said, tossing a stone into the water. Thinks he can fix me. You're not broken, I said fiercely, grabbing his hand. Neither of us is. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I know, but it hurts, Jamie, knowing they hate who I am. I pulled him close, my arms around him, the creek our only witness. We'll find a place where they don't, I promised, where we can be us. But the next day, everything unraveled. I was at the diner when Pastor Mitchell stormed in, his face like thunder. The whole place went quiet, forks clattering against plates. Jamie Carter, he said, his voice shaking with rage. You stay away from my son. I froze, my rag dripping onto the counter. Sir, I don't. He cut me off, stepping closer. You've corrupted him. Led him astray. I won't let you drag him to hell. The words hit like a slap, but I stood my ground. I love him, I said, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at me. And he loves me. That's not a sin. The diner was deathly silent. Pastor Mitchell's face twisted, and for a moment, I thought he'd hit me. But he just turned and stormed out, leaving whispers in his wake. By the time my shift ended, the news had spread. Pastor Mitchell was organizing a town meeting to address the moral decay in Willow Creek. Caleb and I were the targets. That night, Caleb didn't show up at the creek. I waited for hours, my heart pounding, until I couldn't stand it anymore. I snuck to his house, climbing the trellis to his bedroom window like we used to as kids. He was there, curled on his bed, his face wet with tears. He locked me in, he whispered. Said he's sending me to some camp. To fix me. I felt sick. Conversion camps, horror stories I'd read online, places that tried to break people like us. We're leaving tonight, I said, my voice urgent. Right now. Caleb shook his head. He took my money, Jamie. My keys. Everything. I climbed through the window, my hands shaking as I helped him pack a bag. We'd figure it out. We had to. But as we crept downstairs, the front door opened, and Pastor Mitchell stood there, his eyes blazing. You, he spat, grabbing my arm. Get out of my house. Caleb stepped between us, his voice steady. Let him go, Dad. I'm leaving with him. The air crackled with tension. Pastor Mitchell's face softened for a moment, then hardened again. You're my son, he said. I won't lose you to this. You already have, Caleb said, his voice breaking. He grabbed my hand, and we ran, the night swallowing us as we fled into the dark. We made it to the bus station, our breath ragged, our bags slung over our shoulders. The midnight bus to Nashville was boarding, and we had just enough cash for 2 tickets. As we climbed aboard, I looked back at Willow Creek, its lights fading into the distance. I didn't know what waited for us in New York, but for the first time, I felt free. New York was a shock to the system, bright, loud, alive in a way Willow Creek could never be. We arrived with $200 between us, a backpack each, and a dream that felt too big to hold. The first night, we slept in a hostel, our hands clasped under the thin blanket, afraid to let go. But as the days turned to weeks, we found our footing. I got a job at a coffee shop in Brooklyn. Caleb waited tables at a diner. We rented a tiny room in a shared apartment, the walls thin but ours. The city was freedom, but it wasn't easy. We fought about money, about fear, about the ghosts of Willow Creek that followed us. Caleb woke up some nights, trembling, haunted by his dad's voice. I carried my own scars, the memory of that brick through our window, the word freak scrawled on my locker. But we held on to each other, building a life one small victory at a time. 6 months later, we stood in Central Park, the spring air warm against our skin. Caleb had enrolled in community college, studying art, his true passion. I was taking night classes, still dreaming of writing the stories I'd kept hidden for so long. We weren't rich, but we were happy, our hands intertwined as we watched the world go by. One day, a letter arrived from Mom. She'd sold the farm, moved to Nashville, and was starting over. I'm proud of you, she wrote. Be happy. I cried reading it, Caleb's arms around me, his lips brushing my forehead. We hadn't heard from his dad, but Sarah had sent a message a month ago, an apology for her anger, a wish for our happiness. It wasn't forgiveness from everyone, but it was a start. That night, Caleb pulled me to the roof of our building, the city skyline glittering below. I was so scared that night, he said, his voice soft. When I walked into your room, I thought I'd lose you if I told you the truth. I leaned against him, my heart full. You didn't lose me. You saved me. He kissed me, slow and sure, the city humming around us. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were living. And as I looked at him, his blue eyes bright with love, I knew we'd face the worst and come out stronger. Willow Creek had tried to break us, but we'd built something unbreakable. Love wasn't just a spark in a powder keg. It was the fire that kept us warm, no matter the storm.